Hey guys, it's Taurus Wrangler here. Today, I'm going to rant about something. Better yet, I'm going to rant about somebody. I know that many of you college students out there have had an incredibly boring teacher or two at least once during your college stint. I mean one that's capable of alleviating your insomnia. I had one by the name of Professor Capon, who teaches physical science and chemistry at Daly College here in Chicago, and in the fall of 2009 I had him for physical science. Now, aside from the fact that he was simply boring, he was a really terrible professor. I will begin by saying that, unlike most teachers, he did not use the textbook that was provided by the school's bookstore. Instead, he had us buy booklets from him for $5. Now that doesn't sound too bad, right? But here's the catch. He had us go to his house to do it. Now can I please ask one simple question? Who the fuck goes to a teacher's house to buy a book? I have never, ever in my 20 years or so of schooling had a teacher who tells their students to go to his or her house to buy a book. It ain't no surprise that several female students I spoke to about that issue told me that they had other relatives, sisters, friends, cousins, whatever have you, do it for them because they were too scared to go to his house themselves. And frankly, I don't blame them not one bit. But they all received a C or better because they did all of their labs in that booklet. Oh, and speaking of labs, I had to ask other people to borrow theirs and Xerox it just to have one for myself, which was a major hassle. Because there was one time that Professor Capon mentioned that he had been teaching physical science and chemistry since 1975. So you mean to tell me he's been having people go to his house to purchase shit for over 35 years? What the fuck? It looks like we're off to a great start right off the bat. But hey, it only gets better. Because in addition to doing something that would possibly make him questionable for criminal activity, Capon was also very rude and inconsiderate. One prime example was when he once stopped his lecture to go outside to answer a phone call. At that point, everyone in the class immediately became disgusted with him. Also, I found him to be very misleading, because he asked everyone to look for a room which he claimed had an exit sign above it so we could examine it as part of an assignment. But there wasn't one! It was like when he asked me to go outside, to find an exit sign on over some room on the 3rd floor of the school. There wasn't one! And I just became so frustrated. Now that goes to show that Capon was on some bullshit. Yep, grade A bullshit. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if that guy did coke every day of his miserable life. And on top of that, Capon would sometimes walk away from people when they were trying to listen to his lab lectures while we were trying to do our work. Now there was this one girl named Lizette who got really angry when Capon abruptly walked out of the room while she was trying to receive information from him, and she started swearing and shit. Honestly, I could understand her frustration, and I would have did the same thing. Now another thing that really pissed me off was when Capon never reminded us about the midterm. I had a partner named Shanina, and she had informed me that I had missed the midterm. I was in complete shock, as it was something that was totally unexpected. And when I asked him if I could make it up, he said I couldn't. I had to wait for the final. What the fuck? At that point, I really wanted to knock the shit out of Capon for not reminding the class about the midterm. But when I spoke to another time I spoke to another student about this, and he said I should refer to the syllabus. But may I ask this? What if I don't fucking feel like looking at the goddamn syllabus? Because technically, I'm not always obliged to do so. Because at the school I'm at now, Harold Washington College, they at least have the decency to remind you about certain things. But that highly depends on the class and or the situation that you're in. Now, it's not like, like they're trying to treat us like we're little kids. They have to remind us to do this and that every single day or whatever. But, I mean, at least that's just, courteous. That's common sense. And that's the main reason is because Harold Washington, or H-Dub as I like to call it, is a better quality school than Daly was. But that's a completely different subject for another day. But here's the icing on the cake. Matter of fact, there are 2 icings. During the final, he actually gave us 3 tests. Not that it mattered because I was already failing that class, but still, he gave us 3 tests. Although he let us use note cards, I was told by Shanina that some people still failed that class, and I will elaborate more on that shortly. But first, the material Capon gave us on one of the tests had nothing to do with the material he taught over the course of that semester. He taught us crap about constellations, different geologic time periods, Jurassic, Mesozoic, whatever the fuck it's called, etc. Minerals, igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic rocks. 4th grade shit that I barely even remember. And guess what? He gives us an exam about the weather. You heard me right, the fucking weather. Why in the holy mother of hell would he issue an exam about the weather if he never taught it during the main course of the semester? Questions about cold fronts, warm fronts, highs and lows, air pressure? I mean, what the fuck do I look like, a meteorologist? I mean, who the hell does he think I am? Fucking Steve Basker-fucking-ville? No! Don't assign questions over shit you never taught or reviewed. That is a common fundamental aspect in teaching, damn it! Is it that difficult to understand? No, it isn't! Now, according to Shanina, Capon allegedly failed about half the class, and her reasons include something about the students misusing note cards or anything along those grounds, something in that area. But the irony is that this stupid motherfucker actually allowed us to use note cards for the exam, yet according to my impression, he fails people who do so? I mean, I swear, that guy must be fucked up in the head or something. And remember before when I said that Capon had people to go to his house to buy a book? Well, guess what? When I ran into Shanina at a church where the funeral of this woman who used to live on my block was held not too long ago, she and I spoke about that situation, and I found out Shanina had informed the dean of Daly College, Mr. Ward, about what Capon had been pulling, the BS he was pulling, and believe it or not, she told me her grade was raised to a C. And she did not have to take that class again. I wish I thought of that, but at the time I had no clue about that possibility. In conclusion, all I can say is that Professor Capon was a worthless, inconsiderate, selfish, rude, egotistical, inconsistent bastard. I will say this though, the only reason he's still teaching at Daly College is because the lucky bastard has kids who are still in high school. Personally, if it were up to me, I'd have fired his ass a long time ago. Now, I've known about teachers who have settled on the basis of racial discrimination. Because I have a cousin who once told me she had a college professor back in the 80s who made the work harder for the black students. Thankfully, that professor was later fired. Because undoubtedly, anyone who pulls any shit like that nowadays will definitely lose their job. But regardless, if it were possible, I would knock his Bob Barker looking ass out by knocking his goddamn teeth down his fucking throat. And speaking of Bob Barker, I'm gonna tell you something right now, Professor Capon. You went over. You went over with my patience, motherfucker. God, I seriously wish someone will come up to you and seriously smack the dog shit out of you with a complete double-crossing asswipe that you are. Now, you see these two names on screen? The next time I fight either of these plagues, I want you to keep this Jerry Capon character in mind, because to me, he has an equivalency to these assholes, especially the first one. And when I beat either of their asses in any of my future Def Jam battles, at the same time I'm beating Capon's ass, since he is the spirit plague that influences or substitutes for them, and vice versa. So, that's the end of my rant. Please subscribe to me and leave a comment down in the comment section below. And I'm Taurus Wrangler, and until we meet again, good day.